Anyone got a pencil? Hello, my name's Mark and I'm the host of the Mixtape podcast, where every week on the show I will ask my guests to make up an imaginary mixtape. They'll give it a title and pick 6 tracks. Track 1, what's going to be your intro track, your attention grabber, your track 1 side one that's going to draw me in and make me want to listen to the rest of your tape. Track 2, pick a song that you sing loud and proud when you're on your own in the car or the shower. Track 3, pick your favourite cover version. Track 4, pick a song you wish you could have played to your 18-year-old self. Track 5, pick a song that you would put on your mixtape to let the listener know that you are romantically interested. And track 6, I'm going to ask them to pick something a little bit obscure, maybe a B-side or an album track. Don't forget to smash that follow or plus sign at the top of the page and you'll be notified every time there's a new episode. And you can follow me on Instagram at the Mixtape Perf. Hope you enjoy this week's chat. Hello and welcome to this week's Mixtape show. And this week I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Benny from Rinehearts. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Very well. Let's talk about Rinehearts, mate. You've got a lot going on at the moment. New album, Full Bloom, is out now. All the streaming platforms.
Yes, all that. Yeah, all that usual stuff, and out on vinyl as well, which is great feeling.
Yeah, I'll be jumping on that this week for sure, mate, for sure. And that's through your Bandcamp, is it? Through your link in bio on your Insta?
It's actually through you're best off getting it through the Cheer Squad Records Bandcamp or our Bandcamp. Doesn't make a difference.
Right, okay. And your is it? I did write it down. Rinehearts Band on Instagram. Is that right?
That's the one. Yeah.
So what I'll do, if you're listening to this on the podcast, then the links to the Bandcamps and the Instas and everything else will all be in the description for this podcast. But if you're listening on the radio, then Rinehearts Band or Rinehearts Bandcamp is where you can catch up and connect and get all that good merch and vinyl and stuff like that. You got a lot of gigs happening as well, Benny, at the moment. You played Maiden Street Festival last night. How was that, mate?
Yeah, it was great. It was sort of like a mid-afternoon show, and it was, chocolates down there, lots of families hanging around, and all the other bands were great. It was a really cool atmosphere, actually. Really, really good one.
Yep. Talking about cool atmospheres, this week you're at the Vinyl Cafe as well, is that right?
No, that was Thursday, just gone.
Gone last week, was it? Oh, sorry, I thought that was this week. Sorry, mate, my apologies.
All good, man. Yeah, there's a lot of gigs there to keep track of, so I feel much the same as you, getting a bit confused.
I'm trying to keep track of about 8 different bands as well at the same time. So it's even harder. Okay, so and you got a couple of big support slots coming up. Jebediah, the Rechabite, and also Gaz Coombs from Supergrass as well this week. That's December, is it?
Yeah, December the 2nd, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I'm talking to Gaz's management and PR at the moment about potentially getting him on the pod. So fingers crossed that'll be a good one. Yeah, because I'm a big Supergrass fan. And you're also down in Busso Fire Station, November the 25th, right?
Yeah, November 25th. Yeah, we're down there. We go down there, sort of, if not once a year, every second year or something like that. Mm-hmm. We've probably been down there maybe 4 times or something, but they're great. Yeah. It's a great little venue and they really look after us. We have a lot of fun when we go down there.
Yeah. I've been there quite a few times myself. I've stopped in there they've got some lovely old craft beers on in there. They do nice food in there as well. Yeah. So shout out Fire Station in Busso. It's one of my favourite spots.
It's great, man. It's walking distance as well for us from the motel room to the venue. So very convenient.
Yeah, staggering distance, for sure. And all those ticket links and everything else will also be linked in the description of this podcast if you're looking for tickets for any of those gigs as well. What else you got coming up? Future plans, Benny? After that, have you got just more support slots and gigs, or obviously you're just busy pushing and touring the new album at the moment? You're not looking at any new material or anything like that for now?
Oh, I'm literally sitting in my studio writing new material as we speak.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
I was halfway through a new song before you called.
Exclusive.
I guess.
Hey.
It'll be a while before it gets on vinyl, I'll tell you that much. But I mean, we just got back from Melbourne. We did 5 shows over there about 2 weeks ago. And then Mayland Street Festival. We got those 2 shows you just mentioned coming up. That's it for the end of the year. Actually, sorry, hang on. We got 2 shows that have just come through. One at the Bird on the 16th of December with Timothy Nelson. He's playing songs off his album. And then the 23rd of December, we're doing a big Christmas show with the Chevelles at the Milk Bar.
Ah,
So
cool, awesome.
yeah, that'll be great. We sort of do that with them. We've done that a couple of Christmases with them, and those shows are always amazing. They're usually at Mojo's and they sell out. So Milk Bar this time. So we've got those coming up for the rest of the year, and then nothing really planned for the start of next year. But I guess the past, couple of months and the month ahead has been
Yeah.
absolutely nuts.
I imagine it has. I imagine it has. Milk Bar as well. That's one of my favourite venues. I love that. It's a great little spot. That as well. It's a good one.
Yeah,
I've seen
mate.
loads of good bands in there. Okay,
Yeah.
Penny, let's go crack into your mixtape tracks, mate. Thanks so much for sending them through. Always helps if I get them in advance. It's great. I think who did I do? Grunge Barbie, I think I did, and they literally sent them through like 5 minutes before the.
Oh man,
But
it's
yeah,
funny.
yours were all right. I had plenty of time, mate, and I knew quite a lot of the tracks anyway, so it was all good. But yeah,
Yeah, you reminded me earlier on today because when you messaged me a week ago or something, I was like, oh, no worries, I'll get that done in my
yeah,
sleep between now and
yeah,
the next,
yeah.
week. And sure enough, I got your message this morning. I was like,
Yeah.
ah.
Do you know,
Yeah.
I sent that when I got home from psychedelic porn crumpets about 2 o'clock in the morning. I
Did you
just
really?
remember, yeah, I was
Okay,
having that hangover, existential dread of what I've got to do tomorrow. Now I'm feeling this rough, and I was like, oh, Rinehearts is tomorrow, and I haven't had their track through yet. I better just shoot him a little reminder. Yeah,
well,
sorry
at
for
least
sliding your DMs at 2 in the morning, mate.
nothing wrong with that. At least we know we're all consummate professionals here.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Yeah, same. Okay, all right. Track one, Eddie, for your mixtape. I asked you to pick an attention grabber to kick off your mixtape. And what did you pick, mate?
I've picked The Who, Won't Be Fooled Again. It was a hard one, actually. In fact, all of your questions about the songs, I had to, like they're really great questions. I had to really, really think about it. And it's funny because it's like when you're like yourself, you've probably been listening to music since you're a kid, and it's like, God, where do you start?
I know, yeah. Well, I'm doing for episode 99. My guest is going to be the guy who gave me my very first mixtape when I was like 16, and then for episode 100, he's going to do me. And I'm like 25 episodes in now, and I'm already starting to worry about it. Like I've got 75 episodes to go till I do it, because I've got to pick my tracks. But I'm already worrying about it. Oh, this is going to be too hard. I can't narrow this down. And I try and make it like interesting, but not like a chore where people go, especially busy musicians like yourself, just go, oh, I can't be bothered with this. Do you know what I mean? Like I want it to be thought provoking, but not like a pain in the arse to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, not at all, not at all. It's really cool. I thought they were really great questions, but yeah, it's just so hard to choose. It's you really got to. And I feel like sometimes when I do this kind of thing, it's not till maybe like the week after, or I go back to listen to. Yeah. It's like, oh man, why didn't I think of that song? Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just going back to Won't Get Fooled Again, I think I just researched it quickly before we came on this chat just to make sure I had my facts straight. But I remember seeing an interview with Pete Townsend like donkeys years ago about the recording of that intro, and it was something to do with that synth sort of intro before the guitar comes in. That's like some sort of programmed magic box of tricks that he came across in the 70s, and he programmed it with people's dates of births and star signs and all this to get that, to generate that sound. That's what it is. I'm not explaining it very well, but do a bit of googling on it. But yeah, it was something like that. He interviewed people, just random people, and I think one of the people's dates and star signs he used was like his Indian spiritual guru or whatever. He chose him as well, and he put all this data, all this just numbers into this machine, and that intro to Won't Get Fooled Again is what came out.
Man,
Before.
Awesome. I had no idea.
Yeah. But obviously the guitar and the Who, I think I've been lucky enough to see them live a couple of times, and just untouchable. Yeah, brilliant, amazing
You've
band.
seen them live?
I've seen them live twice. Wow. Yeah, I've seen them live twice. Yeah, I saw them in mid 90s. They did Quadrophenia live in Hyde Park. Slightly soiled by the fact that Gary Glitter was involved in that production. But yeah, and then I saw them at Live Aid when they did the Live Aid sort of 30th anniversary or whenever it was, 25th anniversary in the mid 2000s. I saw them there just before Pink Floyd, and again they were amazing. Like really, really good. I think they only did 4 songs or 5 songs that night, but yeah, the Quadrophenia live was brilliant. I think they had Stephen Fry was the narrator. Like they had Adrian Edmondson was on as well. Like they had so many good people on in that show as well. But yeah, I do feel quite lucky that I've seen the Who live, and yeah, I think both times.
I'm insanely jealous about that. Like that's that's quite a I mean, everybody's got notches on their belts, but that's quite a notch.
Yeah, the Who and Pink Floyd on the same day. That was a big one. I was like, yeah, I
Yeah.
ticked a big one off there. Like, yeah, that was so good.
It's almost like a real life scenario of one of your questions that you put to people. Like if you could see two bands in the same day live, who would you pick?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I used to have a question. Just going off on a bit of a tangent. Before I had the mixtape format as is now, the last question I always used to ask people was, and I was just looking for validation really, was, when you go to a festival and you have like a clash of artists on different stages, like at the same time, and you don't know where to go. I had a clash. I had a clash at a festival in 1998 where it was the Verve were headlining the main stage, and headlining the dance tent at the same time was James Brown. And the Verve it was their last gig or last but one gig. They were splitting up and that was it, finished. And James Brown was like 70 something, been touring for years. And I was just, oh man, it was like a horrible, horrible quandary to be in. And I never got to see the Smiths live, and that's a big regret. So the way the Verve was splitting up, it was really, bitter and there was a lot of animosity there. And I just got the same sort of feeling like, if I don't take this opportunity, it'll be like not ever seeing the Smiths. Like the Verve was such a massive band for me. So I chose the Verve. My mate chose James Brown, and then about a year later, James Brown passed away. And then 2 or 3 years after that, the Verve got back together for another tour. So I was absolutely devastated. But I used to put that quandary to people on the interview. Like, if you were in that situation, what would you do? Just like looking for validation. And I think all but one person said James Brown, and I just stopped asking it in the end. I was like, I'm not going there no more. I'm not getting what I want out of this. Okay, right. Sorry, we digressed a little bit there. Track two, Benny. I asked you to pick a song you sing loud and proud when you're on your own in the car or the shower, mate. What'd you pick?
If I remember, I know I sent these through to you a couple of hours ago, so I should have a better memory than this. But I think it's Positively 4th Street by Bob Dylan.
Yeah, it was, mate. Yeah. I got one note on my little run sheet there I've got for this, and it put me in mind a bit of like You're So Vain in that kind of. It's got that sort of, what is this about? Who is this about? Sort of vibe about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit mysterious on it. Like, no one really knows like who, or who he's talking about in the song. And great track though.
Yeah. I often wonder the same thing, and it's like it's the ultimate. It's like he's got so much venom in in his delivery. He's just like, you would not want to be on the other end of that. Like I guess in like a Bob Dylan folk kind of way. I don't feel like he's necessarily capable of beating people up or anything, but like lyrically, it's like, whoa, who is he talking about, and what did they do to him?
No, absolutely. I read something to do. It was maybe some guy had been asked like dozens and dozens of times. It was someone to do with the Greenwich Village sort of folk scene in New York in the 60s. But I didn't research too far on it, but that seems to be the general sort of consensus is about that guy. Track 3 with your mixtape, I asked you to pick your favorite cover version, and you went with rock and roll star Patti Smith.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the story behind this one, like I remember when I got Whatever Birds record, the song is off, like the original. I thought it was so cool. Like I imagine it to be, when you're living in that time, and obviously electric guitars are taking off. And that to me, it seems like they're singing about how everybody either wants to be a rock and roll star or maybe they're saying, just go and do it. I'm not so sure, but it wasn't until recently, actually, I'm starting to get into I'm reading a book about Patti Smith and Robert Mapplethorpe, I think his name is, called Just Kids. And it's a book about when she first moved to New York or Brooklyn, where she was sort of, living in the Chelsea Hotel and doing all these sorts of things. And when I was reading the book, I thought I really need to listen, like to her music, because there's a lot about the poetry that she's into and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, well, I'm going to, when I go to work, I'm going to start to listen to some Patti Smith. And when that song came on, which I had heard before, but not for a long time. So I guess it's a bit of a timing thing with me reading that book and listening to Patti Smith, and also you asking about a cover, where that's kind of come from. But I just think she does the coolest version. Bird song is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot punchier than the original. I think there's not many covers I prefer, but I did prefer her version. I found it a lot more sort of punchy and sort of
Yeah.
a lot more of an attention grabber than the Birds. Not that I don't like the Birds, but yeah, I just found it like I preferred it
Oh,
musically as well. Yeah,
it's
great
way
version.
more raw,
Yeah.
like way more sort of like, unstable and unhinged and all that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. It's really cool. And
Yeah.
she's super tough as well. And same with like we're talking about with the Bob Dylan lyrically,
Mhm.
it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, just her delivery and everything
Mhm.
is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and track 4 for your mixtape, Benny. I asked you to pick a song you wish you could play to your 18-year-old self when you picked This Day by Sleepy Jackson.
Yeah, okay. So, and I guess another interesting story. I mean, again, like there's 10,000 songs, millions of songs I wish I could
Mm,
have now, shown to my 18-year-old self then. I mean, I was really into music when I was 18 from a young age. So it's not like I wasn't listening to music and I think, I needed to show myself this or whatnot. But when I was 18, I guess at high school, it was punk and grunge and things like that was happening at the time. So you only know what you know when you're that age. And funnily enough, Rinehearts have a project coming up where we have to cover a Perth band song,
mhm.
like a
Oh,
recorded
okay. Yeah.
so again, this is like a little bit of a what's happening in our world at the moment thing, but
Mhm.
I kind of wish I had have paid more attention to the Sleepy Jackson when they were sort of doing their
Mhm.
thing, which was probably around when I was that age. I was more obsessed with heavy, big heavy guitars and rock and roll and loudness and
Mhm.
drinking beer and all these sorts of things. So I think now we just started listening to this record together to the Sleepy Jackson one
Mhm.
because we're covering that song. And yeah, I actually found it almost like this brand new discovery. I
Mhm.
remember them being around at the time, but I really
Yeah.
didn't pay much attention because I didn't really gravitate towards it because I was
Yeah.
18.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
But now I listen to it, and particularly from a songwriting point of view, I just think that song's amazing. Like it's a very, very, very sort of like Beatles-esque in its
Mhm.
chord progressions and the way the melody starts here and ends there. And being a songwriter, I listen to it and I'm quite blown away how it gets from one point to another so seamlessly.
Mhm.
And so I guess maybe when I was trying to write songs when I was 18, I would have loved to have heard it and had the
Mhm.
perspective I do now
Yeah.
to know how these songs go together. But I guess that I would have liked to have heard that and maybe paid some attention when I was 18.
Yeah. Yeah. What sort of stuff were you listening to when you were that age, Benny?
When I was 18, I'm going to be, embarrassingly honest here, right? And not that I'm ashamed of it because I grew up in the hills of Perth,
Mhm.
Kalamunda. It was all skating and surfing. I graduated in the year 2000. So, it was kind of the mid 90s when I was going to high school, which is, completely in fashion at the moment. But then, it was all obviously all Nirvana,
Mhm.
and the grunge and alternative sort of music sort of scene was happening. But I mean, I listened to that because that's what my older brothers were listening to. But
Mhm.
I started delving back, and I went and sort of found punk rock, and I found the Clash and all that sort of stuff, and bands like the Who with the rock and roll and all that kind of
Mhm.
thing. So
Yeah.
I was not sort of like listening to that stuff then, but that's how I found all that stuff because
Mhm.
I sort of started with alternative music and then started going backwards
Mhm.
rather than kind
Yeah.
of going
Yeah.
forwards, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the big bands at the time, if you look at like the Big Day Outs and all that sort of stuff, it was
Mhm.
Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and all these kinds of bands. I didn't know a
Mhm.
thing about stuff, then.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now someone, pointed out, well, not now, but years ago, someone was like, oh, well,
Mhm.
Soundgarden are just Black Sabbath, and I was like,
Mhm.
who are Black Sabbath?
Black Sabbath. Yeah. Right there.
So
That's who they are. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Bowie and the Beatles and like
Yeah.
yeah, all that sort of stuff. Like I found out that probably when I was in my 20s. So it all started with punk and grunge, I guess, and all that kind
Mhm.
of thing. And yeah, as far as Perth bands go, it's funny, we're playing with Jebediah next weekend.
Mhm.
Like when I was in high school, they were a massive, and they still are, but they were a
Mhm.
massive deal,
Mhm.
amongst
Yeah.
the Perth scene. It was indie and indie pop grunge sort of stuff. Like I mean, we obviously didn't have internet really.
Mhm.
It was
No.
pre MySpace and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have Express Magazine, you have local gigs, and you go and see a band like
Mhm.
that, and it would just absolutely floor me absolutely floor me, because all you got is your CDs, right? Or that's all you got to go off. So you go and see a live band like that, and it's like, wow. So really, all the things that influenced me, especially being isolated here in Perth, all the things that influenced me live were things that were either all ages, or they were like a big band, and they'd draw people's attention. Yeah, and really it went from there to seeing local bands and seeing bands in your backyard that you didn't even realize, like, world-class bands, 20 people might be watching it. Like, I just absolutely fell in love with it, and all I could think at the age of 18 is, how the hell do I do that?
Okay, so track 5. I asked you to pick a track that you would put on your mixtape to let the listener know you're romantically interested, and you went with Eddie Current, Suppression Ring, and Gentleman.
Okay, yeah. Again, like, lyrically, okay, so I've been married for a long time, right? I met my wife when I was 18. She's also a musician. And now when the question said romantically interested, I thought to myself, well, I'm romantically interested in my wife.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, does that mean I need to choose a song about being romantically interested in her? Because truth be told, the first song that came to mind, right, was the Buzzcocks' Ever Fallen in Love.
Yeah.
But then I thought to myself, I can't choose that, because that's about falling in love with someone you shouldn't have fallen in love with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, romantically interested versus songs that I think are about romance. I wasn't sure how to answer that one, but I think Eddie Current, Suppression Ring, I love them a lot. And I think that song, it's kind of like got a little bit of humor in it. It's, about trying to be a gentleman. I think it's a little bit sort of tongue in cheek, but that song off that album, I think that's great. So that's just one that popped into my mind anyway.
Yeah, it's a great track. I'd never heard of them, and I had a little look around. What's the deal with the gloves? Like, I didn't understand. Oh, mate, with the gloves on, like, yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when they first came, I was living in Melbourne with the band I was playing in at the time when they first sort of started breaking. And I was living at a place called the Art House, which is, I guess, Melbourne's version of the Chelsea Hotel when I think about it, in North Melbourne. I was living there and they were playing downstairs. And I thought, there's a band there every Friday and every Saturday night, or pretty much every night of the week. So I didn't really bother too much about going downstairs and watching them. And I wish I had have. But one of my friends walked downstairs and he watched about half their set, and he said the same thing. He came upstairs and he was like, I really like him, but he was like, this dude was wearing gloves. And I was like, why are you wearing gloves? And I thought to myself, it's really, like, when you think about it on the spectrum of what's weird in Anderson, it's not really that weird when you compare it to like to Twisted Sister, or something like that. It's not really that outrageous, right? But it seems to be this weird thing that really grabs people's like opinions one way or the other, where they're like, oh man, I love that record, but I just can't do it because that guy wears gloves.
Yeah, I think probably the fact they're being a bit like there's probably never no definitive answer on it, that makes people think about it even more. I think it's that thing.
Totally.
Yeah, I love that track. That was a great track, and like you say, very tongue-in-cheek sort of lyrics, but really good one. So what I do, Benny, obviously, if you're listening to this on the radio, then you'll hear these tracks that we're talking about in between the chat. But on the podcast, because I can't include the music because it's licensed content. So what I do is I make up a separate Spotify playlist with the tracks that we're talking about, and then I'll include your album on it as well. And then I'll link that in the description to this podcast so people can go and jump out and listen to the tracks that we're talking about and listen to your stuff as well as we're going through.
That's cool. It's such a great idea, man. It's
the only way I can get around it on Spotify. It's annoying, and I think with the format, it gives it so much more context when you can hear the songs like the way, especially when you're talking like you are so passionately about the songs, and then we just move on to the next song. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas if you can hear the songs in between, I think it gives it so much more context, and it's a much better sort of listening experience, I think, when you do that. So I'll try and do that every time. Okay, and finally, Benny, track 6 of your mixtape. I asked you to pick something a little bit obscure, maybe a B-side or an album track or something like that, and you went with Mr. Soul by Buffalo Springfield.
Yeah. I'm very keen to hear what you think about this song, but
I've got something to say about this song. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. I think most people do. I don't know how obscure it is. I guess depends who we're talking to. But now it's funny because that album, which the name of it totally escapes me, but is it Mr. Soul, the album? Is that what the album's called?
I think it was, yeah. When I was looking it up earlier, yeah.
So I guess half the reason I got into these guys, I watched a couple of documentaries a while back, and Laurel Canyon, Echoes in the Canyon, all this stuff about the 60s and those areas outside of LA and all that sort of stuff where all this sort of stuff was going on. And I went and got the Buffalo Springfield album, which I knew a little bit about them. I knew their big songs or whatnot. And I think it's the first track off the album from memory, maybe the first or second. And I put it on and I was like, oh man, I love this. I love like Neil Young, love him, hate him, whatever. He is who he is. And the voice with this, it's got that fuzzed out guitar in it, that incredibly trebly, crazy, hurting sort of fuzzed out note in it. That grabbed me straight away. Again, like the way he sings it, that I really, really love it. And then the next, songs came on in the album, and I was just like, I don't know what the hell this is. It took me a while to kind of like wrap my head around it all. But yeah, Obscure, I think it's pretty weird. I love I recently built my own home studio where I'm recording other bands now. And it's really got me listening to things in a really different way. And that song, I love the parts and I love the way it's been recorded. And I think its obscureness comes from just it being a bit of a weird song. It's a bit weird. It makes you feel a bit weird and has strange parts and goes in strange places. So I guess that is the reason for my choice there.
Yeah, I think I'll let listeners, when you hear this track after we finish chatting or drop into the Spotify, I couldn't quite put my finger on, but that guitar was sounding extremely familiar. I couldn't quite, like the riff, I couldn't quite put my finger on it just as I was quickly listening. But yeah, I'll let people make up their own, but I'm sure it's something I've heard before.
Okay.
Or maybe
I might be able to shed some light on that.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I think it might be the Stones. Can't Get No Satisfaction.
Yeah, Satisfaction. Maybe. Yeah. That was it. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Now you can sleep at night. I know that feeling when you can't.
Satisfaction was quite early, so I don't know what year that one was, but I don't know who's knocked who off there. I'd probably quite close. I'm not sure.
I think everyone was kind of knocking everybody off, weren't they? And
it's that time. Yeah.
It was like playing each other's songs and doing covers, and if not, maybe like a bit of a sideways version of it,
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember who I was talking to about it. I think it was Clint Boone when he was on about from Inspiral Carpets, and we were talking about that. And we were talking about how economical bands were in the 60s. No, I tell you it was Hannah from Psychotic Reactions, and she was saying she picked a Kinks track. And it was literally all day and all the night, but with different lyrics. Like it was it was almost the exact same. It was like one chord away from being the exact same riff. Yeah, I think back in the day there, they were very economical with the riffs and melodies and stuff like that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, Benny, thanks so much for coming on the show, mate. I really appreciate your time and picking the tracks and coming on and having a chat with me today. Good luck with the album, Full Bloom. It's an amazing album, and I wish you all the very best of it, mate. And hopefully see you again soon, buddy.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate your help, interest in the album as well. Really, really appreciate it.
No problems. Cheers, mate. Have a good one. See you later.
Thanks, mate. Catch ya.
That was the Mixtape podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to jump up to the top of the page and smash that follow button, and you'll be notified every time there's a new episode, or follow me on Instagram at the Mixtape Perf. Until the next time.